Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Good afternoon or good morning, depending where you're based. I think we will wait just a few more minutes. We should be around 30 people, so we will give the others 1 or 2 minutes left to join. Welcome. Okay, meanwhile, maybe I will just share some housekeeping rules, as we say. If you're not a speaker, please keep your microphones off during the presentations. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat box or in the Q&A part, it's as you want. Or you can raise your hand at the end of the webinar, so it will be more interactive. Of course, feel free to open your camera. It will be nice for our guest speaker today. So we will wait a few more seconds and I think we will start. This webinar will be recorded and it will be uploaded on the CICA website and on the CICA YouTube channel. So you can go back to it after this webinar. Okay, Demet, if you allow me, I will start the introductions, if that's okay for you.
It's okay.
Okay.
Of course you can. We have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Start.
Well, welcome everyone. We are pleased to have you today with us. So I'm pleased to introduce our 2 guest speakers for today. I'm sure you maybe already know Demet. Demet, she is the chairwoman of our working group Construction 5.0. So she's really our knowledgeable partner in terms of construction, AI, Contech, agile management. And she has taken over the working group at CICA since a few months now. And I'm pleased to introduce as well Sohrab, who is the guest speaker for today. And he's the co-founder and CEO of Taiyō AI, so a platform that you will get introduced to today. And over the past 2 decades, Sohrab has worked at the intersection of AI, infrastructure economics, and project delivery. He spent more than 10 years at the World Bank, the IMF, and the IFC, leading major infrastructure projects across emerging markets. He holds a PhD in reliability engineering, where he wrote one of the first dissertations on AI with mega project management. And he previously served as director of the AI Index at the Stanford Institute for Human-Centered AI. And he's a frequent keynote speaker at global forums. He is also a professor and he teaches at the international universities of UC Berkeley, Sciences Po, INSEAD, and École Polytechnique. So I'm pleased to welcome you both for this webinar, and I will give the floor to Demet.
Thank you, Andin. First of all, I want to tell about Construction 5.0 group, our goals for this period, and then Sarab will explain about their product, how they help us to create a better world. Actually, we are passing through a continuous transformation era. To survive and thrive in this era, companies need to be agile. And this is a whole different mindset from the management mindset of our first 4 industrial revolutions. It's different from the traditional management approach. With this mindset, we started to hear recently Industry 4.0, which means digitalizing the processes with the mindset of technology instead of people. And this is not enough for today's companies to survive. We need to contribute building a better world. And Industry 5.0 has emerged as the next phase in industrial development. Industry 5.0 supports United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals and emphasizes digitalization for sustainability, society, and resilience of companies. So Construction 5.0 is adoption of Industry 5.0 for our industry. In fact, as construction industry, if we cannot adopt the sustainable development goals, the world cannot achieve them. So as Construction 5.0 working group of CICA, our motto is improve the way we build to build a better world. In this context, we are starting a series of activities to elevate the Construction 5.0 maturity level of our industry all over the world. We have started publishing articles. You can reach them at CICA's website. Bringing together the tech companies and the industry is another activity we are starting, and this is the first one. Thank you for coming here. So I want to say welcome to all of you. Today we are welcoming Taiyō AI. To be agile, we need fast and accurate decisions. So we will see how Taiyō AI helps us for fast and accurate decisions. And I appreciate if you follow us and participate to stay ahead the latest innovations and trends in the construction industry. So I'm giving the stage to Sorab now.
Well, thank you, Demet, and thank you, Andine, for bringing us all together. I'll share my screen. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you, with CICA and the associate members, and Demet, the Construction 5.0 initiative. I'm excited to share our work with you. With Taiyō, we think about what we have built as the Bloomberg for the construction industry. It's truly global, a nature, a platform affecting all segments of the ecosystem. We developed this actually in conjunction with working with more than 200 industry leaders across the world. And there were two critical challenges why we built this that we witness in the industry. One being, streamlining visibility to future project development opportunities for construction companies and beyond. And second, really a general purpose intelligence platform to help accelerate learning in this industry. And I'll explain a little bit more what that means. But just to set the stage for everyone here, we're talking about the largest industry on the planet, over $12 trillion spent annually. And McKinsey and other firms estimate that over $2 trillion is wasted because many projects never get started, or there are straight out failures as well. It's the last industry to adopt new technology. Case in point, you have this chart on the right, which depicts the operating margin between the globally traded public construction companies and the S&P 500. And you see a stark difference in operating margins. So, in order to build AI systems and intelligence, what I'd call the cognitive infrastructure for the construction industry, you need data. And data for this industry has remained in paucity and very, very difficult to grasp. And I think it's worthwhile double clicking on what that means for our industry. You see, construction spans the oversight in jurisdiction across geographies, right? From counties, cities, provinces, states, national governments, as well as multilateral investment. Beyond the complexities in geography, there's also complexity in terms of sectors that construction represents. It could mean anything from data center, telecommunications, renewable, non-renewable energy, all types of transport, airport, mass transit, vertical buildings, defense, agriculture. Case in point, in the US alone, there are 15,000 water agencies. And you can look at this across geographies and sectors. Governments which were tasked to publish this information, right? They don't have data governance and data standards to cohesively centralize all the future activity in the construction industry, nor do they have an archived repository of all the activity that has taken place. So what ends up happening is much like the industry, which is highly fragmented, the data for the industry is equally fragmented. This information, sits in PDFs and websites and different procurement agencies. There is no universal format. So in order to build intelligent systems for the construction industry, you need standardized data. And that's been a big impediment for productivity and efficiency growth for this industry. So a lot of the work I'll be sharing with you is underlying, this chart kind of sums it up, but it's more complicated than that because you might look at other systems in GPT and others that are out there in the world today. They're trained on these broader books and Wikipedia and Common Crawl. But what nobody had done is underlying AI systems, you need the underlying data for this domain curated industry data, but also AI agents to better understand the knowledge base and the context of this industry. So what Taiyō has done, our system is split up in two subsystems, is our patent pending data mesh technology, which is the largest standardized construction database on the planet, and the AI layer on top of that. And this AI layer is tapping into not just the World Wide Web, but we've spent over 3.5 years standardizing various types of construction industry data from RFP, RFQ to all historical project records, to get a glimpse of project opportunities that are happening in the coming decades, live sense of procurement, all the scholarly work done on the topic, bidding trends. And we're also collecting over 65 years of historical data, in some cases more. So we get a better sense of who has been awarded contracts to inform these human judgments on due diligence and better decision making through the project lifecycle. So this is a graphic just to explain the distinction between how Taiyō AI is different from general purpose AI and grounded in the construction industry data. What I'd like to, before we go into our platform and share some of this with you, stepping back, it's the importance of early stages of project planning decisions. If we do want efficiency and productivity gain for this industry, a lot of attention has been focused in construction tech during the construction phase. I'd say over 90%. But really, its biggest bang for your buck is the decisions that companies make and governments make at the earliest possible stages. What this chart shows something 101 in project management. The cost of the project is increasing over the life cycle of the project, but the impact, the opportunity to add value is decreasing as the project progresses. So if we were to use AI and data to transform this industry, we would, focus a lot of our attention to avoiding big mistakes and focusing attention and making better decisions at the earliest stages of project planning and development. And with the theme of construction 5.0, I wanted to, as I get into the solution, I wanted to give a little picture in why this becomes more mission critical and of strategic urgency. And damn it, this is my point of view on construction 5.0, but we can discuss more on this. But the preface to these points is that infrastructure is the new geopolitics. So whether it be different regions around the world, from Middle East to East Asia, South Asia, a lot of the spending and sort of corridors across countries is how countries dominate their power. On top of this, we have continued unprecedented spending across the world. The US and North America has, and to be announced further in the coming months and years, over $1 trillion. If you grouped up Middle East and included computing infrastructure as well, over $1 trillion in the Middle East. European energy and defense spending, that's a separate $1 trillion or more. India and South Asia separately alone, or China and other East Asian countries. Buckets of the global, landscape have unprecedented amount of spending happening. And at the same time, the pace of technological disruption is faster than ever. The kind of changes in AI we had over quarters and years, 2, 3 years ago, are happening on a weekly basis. A case in point, it took GPT over $100 million to build, but within 2 to 3 weeks, you saw the DeepSeek R1, T1, S1, different variants of the models, which the training cost went from that $100 million figure to 12 million to $450 to $50. So the cost effectiveness of how companies can deploy AI systems is drastically decreasing, and there's an urgent need to incorporate technology to enhance decision making. But from our industry's vantage point, there are very complex and nuanced challenges where it is a work in progress how data and AI can help solve them. One of them being, climate adaptation and climate resilience, something very well known. But equally important is a long-standing challenge of economic relevance for these large construction projects. I'll give you an example. Early days as we were building Taiyō, I was talking to one of the uh, key bureaucrats in the Indian government, and they were working with the mayor of a city called Agra, which is where the Taj Mahal is. And they were saying, we have a KPMG hired, and we would like to build a mass transit system. This is the concept note passed to the central government. But the bureaucrat asked me, can AI help me make a case to the central government that the economic relevance of this project is not there because the way the city is planned and organized, congestion costs would increase. Can AI and data help me make a better case that this project is irrelevant? Um, Much similar to challenges of economic relevance, there is increasingly political and trade uncertainty. Uh, Case in point with the latest tariff announcements and trade wars, solar power materials, overnight went up by 35%, and more price and labor uncertainty. Um, but on the other hand, we have labor market dynamics, right? I might speak from the perspective of the US, but this, I think, rings true in every country. It's a very well-known labor shortage in the construction industry. In the US, about 15%, if not more, are undocumented labor. And 41% of the labor force in the construction industry will be retiring in the next 4 to 5 years. So there's a dearth of young people coming into the industry. We need a lot more, but we need to do a lot more work with these challenges, right, with lesser human resources. So really the aspect of how data and AI can help is about knowledge retention and focusing on how to get organizational productivity blooming again in this industry. So with that, as I take you through our platform, um, I want to highlight a couple of use cases so you're positioned better how to perceive the platform I'll show you. Two reasons we've designed the platform. One is to help modernize the business development process for the overall construction ecosystem. And the second is to help make more informed actions and decisions. Now, business development isn't just about identifying a major project. It could mean a lot of different things. These projects take many years to happen. So, how are you tapping into these cumbersome capital improvement plans, master plans, and detecting project opportunities as early as possible, but also tracking the tendencies of the client and trends in a market to help formulate your business development strategy? In the second bullet point on making informed actions and decisions, it's the ability how AI can help you do more in-depth project research, inform researching from past projects on which alliances, whether it be clients, if you are too concentrated at working with only 3 or 4 specific clients, how do you diversify the portfolio? Who are the right subcontractors, suppliers, and learning from the outcome of past projects, or as you entering new markets, better understanding the competitive landscape and keeping a pulse on where entities are going. Our clients constantly say it's one about saving, they don't need to waste any more time collecting and standardizing data, and focus their attention on aspects that they are already very good at, which is building stickiness with their clients. That's what human beings and organizations should do. And second is surfacing knowledge and insights in a lot of these facets that I have shared with you. And more practically, some of the buckets of where the platform I'll share with you could be very helpful are three of these buckets. Of course, lead generation, proposal development, but um, doing more enhanced research on markets, projects, entities, and a more personalized education to accelerate learning within an organization. Many of our clients are just using our chatbot, even for example, to prepare walking into a client meeting to better know details about the client, what are the latest projects they're working on, and just informing industry specific brainstorming. So, with that, let me give you a quick overview of how this platform works. So, this is the homepage of Taiyō. It's personalized and customized to everyone's individual preferences. So, Demet, you're interested in roads in Turkey or Andine of solar in France, you can customize this and get daily, weekly alerts and your email inboxes and latest details. There's a whole list of entities that I'm tracking, private sector entities, public sector entities as well. So you get a quick view of what are the latest happenings. Um, Beyond this, there are 2 or 3 aspects of the platform I will highlight for you. Um, One is the place for business development and looking at all upstream activities. So this is a way to do project research. If you're looking to directly bid with governments, this is a live pulse of RFP, RFQ. There's other modules to detect projects earlier or specifically dive into private projects. But much similarly, if you want to do market research about what's a competitive landscape, who are the government clients, who are the EPC contractors in a given sector or a region, architects, design consultants, infra investors, all the market trends are here. And if you want to go deeper into a specific entity, you can tap into our entity directory. And very excited to share with you the first multi-agent chatbot for the construction industry. What multi-agent basically means, there are a swarm of different agents talking to each other to help give you grounded response. So before I show you the chatbot, I want to give you 1 or 2 examples of what these agents are. And then the chatbot becomes a very simple way to interact with all this global data. So I'll give you examples from around the world because you are very global audience here. I'm in the project research section. There are various different sectors we can track, but mind you, we're tracking every bit of government procurement and spending. But from our construction company partners perspective, it's more about these building categories, digital infrastructure, renewable, non-renewable energy, materials, transport, and water. We can also dive deeper into any region as in depth as you want. We can go to Europe or France, but give you an example from the US. We can go into counties and cities, so equally valuable for regional players as well. So let's say I'm trying to pull up a pipeline of mass transit projects in California. Generally, what companies do is, spend a lot of manual effort with analysts, and takes them a couple of weeks to get a static list for pipeline of projects. Now, if I were to just pull up the mass transit project list, what Taiyō does is behind the scenes probably went through maybe 100 or over 100 sources to quickly pull up a yellow pages directory of over 1,000 major projects that you can quickly recall and do deeper research on. So this, straight out of the bat, right, is super helpful to get visibility into all the project pipeline in any region or sector. Now, from here, we can dig deeper into a particular project record. As an example, this is a record coming from source LA Metro. We can click on this to go to the original source, or I can bookmark this project so I get updates on a daily, weekly basis of how the project is evolving. We report on the project details page exactly the kind of information that official government sources reported, as in who is the owner, what is the timestamp, contact name, email, project documents. We give a source reliability and a data quality score. But mind you, governments do not update their project information. So what we have built is a generative AI workspace to do deeper research on a project, to see the real-time updates and how things are evolving. So as an example, what I will do is quickly streamline and pull up all of the latest information about the project in one place. And from here, we can generate an AI-based summary, which will get you up-to-date information about where the project currently exactly sits. One second. I'll take you through the chatbot to show you this feature. But one is this, ability to streamline all the latest things happening about the project, project-related risk, or anything happening about the entity in one place. There are other aspects to accelerate learning on technical engineering research. So if I want to learn lessons from top journal publications on American Society of Civil Engineers to others, to quickly summarize, say, lessons from past projects or emerging technologies that might be impactful for this project, it'll read through these hundreds of articles given the topics of interest to you and quickly start summarizing all the latest happenings, and learnings from the past from similar projects. Could be very helpful to accelerate learning in organizations. There are other features to also look at a risk registry around a project or benchmark a project against similar projects. But I will run all of these queries in the chatbot for you directly. But let's switch context. If I'm not looking at major projects and I'm a supplier to the construction industry, go to live procurement. Let's go to France as an example. And say I'm an electrical plumbing company, and I will type in CVC, which is I think how you say in French, electrical plumbing. I can get the pulse of procurement happening across provinces, cities, and everywhere, right? About all the latest live bidding opportunities. I can click on this to go bid on this. You will generally have a contact name, email, and source citation of where this information is coming from. So to the best of our knowledge, both the project search and live procurement, are the largest sort of pulse of government contracting, all collected in one place. Switching gears, let's say we want to look at the market landscape, and I'm trying to enter the Latin American market, let's say in the transportation and road sector. And I want to identify who are the major players that I should be, building relationships with. It's a pretty haphazard process. So I just put in Latin America and roads. It'll filter down to 13,000 records. about 3 trillion in project records, almost 20 billion in procurement records. And these are the statuses and stages of where these records really are. And as we scroll on this page, it gives us a view across the whole Latin American region. Who are the major project sponsoring agencies? Who are the real-time view of procurement sponsoring agencies? If I want to get a better sense of who are the major companies that are being awarded contracts or suppliers, if you're as a construction company, you're trying to identify new suppliers, this would be the place. Or if you want to look at the competitive landscape, right, of who are the engineering, procurement, construction companies, infrastructure investors, and similarly other stakeholders, architects, design, consulting companies, or banks, we can click on any one of these, boxes to then do deeper research on those project opportunities. And it also pulls up the latest up-to-date timeline of where future activity might be planned to a real-time pulse of where activity has been focused. Um, Quite agile a place. We can type in a name of a company to quickly look up their relationships. Um, but another way to do deeper entity from a market view to an entity is tapping into the entity directory. There's over 10,000 and growing entities we're tracking across the public, private sector. If I were to take a, say, construction company like Bechtel, I can quickly pull up the page. And what this will offer me, right, is details about all the positive, negative event timeline about the entity. There should be all the details, basic details about the entity as well, contact name, emails of the government, sort of the company's clients, what is their specialization pattern in terms of construction engineering or sustainability specialization, all of their projects and all of their procurement records. But I can also pull up various other details like, hey, who are this company's major clients? If I want to develop relationships with Metrolinx or Stanford University, and who are the other EPCs that this one company is associated with, investors, architects, other stakeholders. And from a bidding standpoint, to get the capacity of, if you're bidding against another company, how busy is that firm? A lot of these activity trends could be very informative to get a sense of what backlog a company might have planned. So this is a quick overview of the platform, but what I would like to spend 2 minutes to share with you is how all of this and more becomes more useful from a general purpose intelligence, just not just business development, to better look at a market. Say, I'm going to say, what are the planned major projects in Turkey that are planned in the next 5 years? List out as many projects and give me market trends of emerging major sectors. And what's happening behind the scenes is there are many different AI agents, a swarm of agents, if you may. There are many of them are talking to our data. Others are scanning the web, news media, reading capital improvement plans and other trends, and have a grounded understanding and knowledge about the construction industry to give you a more grounded business actionable sort of guidance, unlike GPT and others, to give you a sense of questions that you might have. And we can go as in depth as we want, or beyond business development, look at risk management, project management, and other such key questions as well. Well, we can also go list out specific transport projects planned in Turkey. We can also ask it to dive deeper into a specific project, pull up contact name, emails, where it's applicable and available. And I'll give you an example or two also of more complex risk-based queries as well. Right here we have the source list, so you have complete transparency to where the information is being pulled from, and it'll pull up other modules of maybe hundreds of projects underlying it, which you can further analyze. This is a module where you can see the thought process and the reasoning of the agents as well.
Sohrab,
Yes.
we have two questions. Do you wish to take them now or after your presentation?
Maybe we can collect them and we can, as I close this out, we can have a discussion on these questions and more.
Okay, perfect.
And she's giving references to the project details from Taiyō. So you can click on any of those links to go deeper into that. And it's listing out many projects. So I will let it finish loading.
Yeah. We have to cut because we have tons of construction projects in Turkey. So it doesn't end if you don't cut them.
That's right. I mean, I could say, hey, give me only projects which are over $1 billion, right? Specifically as well. So you can filter, fine tune those results as well. And maybe in interest of time, I want to say that's very generalized applications. You can tell me I'm working on project, Istanbul Metro line, tell me what has happened in the past, who are the stakeholders involved, who are the companies I should work with, and who should I be, rethink about. So, it pulls up graphs and charts and various other trends, but one last complex query, as an example, like it also pulled up the latest Turkey's sort of trade policy interventions across different sectors that we can further study and analyze. So what are new regulatory changes, price inflation? It'll pull up many different projects that you can further analyze here as well. So a lot of other capabilities, but the last query I want to run for you, something, 742 projects actually. So a chatbot will only give you 2, 3, 4-page response tops, but then you can analyze a deeper list here as well. But a lot of our clients seem to be very concerned about material price escalation and things. So let's stick to the case of Turkey and say, what will be the first order and second order impact of Trump tariffs for transport project construction in Turkey, which materials will see cost escalation and how do I de-risk from these supply chain risks? I'm sticking to macro questions, but many examples here on my left, which, as you can see, running hundreds of different prompts and queries. So a lot of things really also come down to prompt engineering of how do you ask the chatbot in our domain of construction domain kind of questions. And when people are looking to generate, say, a 30-page report with graphs and charts about the market expansion strategy, there's this feature called Generate Market Report. And what it would do basically is do the same things, but given your prompts and queries, it'll give you an in-depth 20 to 30-page report. Some of that might take a couple of months to produce. This becomes a more streamlined way to get people up to speed on a very dynamic and changing market. And of course, you can, as you play with the chatbot, you can go much deeper into this to ask more specific questions and converse with this. I asked it a fairly complex question to also give me a second order impact. Another use case that clients use it for is, hey, I'm building this, road project in New York or in Brazil. Give me the past cost overrun, time delay, and risk benchmarking on most similar size projects in the past. So you have a much, grounded and up to date, measures that were just not available before, or whether it be actionable sort of business decisions, whether it be in terms of um, asking for contact names and emails and other such details um, as well. So I will not dwell on this. I encourage all of you to play with this, give us feedback, how this can be more helpful and more intelligent. I will conclude on here by saying that, a week in our time of developing this is used to be years. So the kind of level of intelligence and data gathering that we're doing on a weekly basis is remarkable. So the system is just getting extremely intelligent and actionable, and we would love to share this with you and your wider team members to play with this. So before we get into questions, I would like to, Andine and Demet, share. I'll let this chatbot respond. And you see it'll pull up again transparently all the sources. It'll pull up graphs and charts you can further analyze. So these are very unique abilities that uniquely, for the industry, I think something that we're proud to be releasing. But to just conclude in interest of time, I mean, one, we would like to share access to this. You can go to this link to sign up for Taiyō, which is infra.taiyō.ai. Sign up, and maybe, Andine, we can share this particular screenshot with your wider team. There's a QR code. Yep. The referral code, if you can just type in CICA 2025. There are links to also contact us and book a session. So we would love to get this in the hands of the wider industry, and we can have a short discussion now. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you, Saurabh. It was really an interesting presentation and demonstration. So I see that we have one question in the chat from Milan Peric. Milan, do you wish to ask your question, or should I do it?
Sure, I can as well. It's basically related to technical research, and we are a consultancy company dealing quantum expertise, and we have multiple subscriptions to multiple libraries, knowledge databases, and so forth. So what is interesting, I mean, and as you can imagine, some things are in hard copy, some things are still being scanned, and so forth. Now, when you mention this technical research function, this is something that normally, even within our company, we are attempting to share who has what knowledge where which hard book is, and so forth. So how does your research work? I mean, I assume it is not a substitute for the multiple subscriptions that exist already, or is it tending to go there, or which sources are you using for this?
Good question, Milan. I mean, there are different ways to skin a cat in the question that you asked, but one of our superpowers here, right, is the ability to take very fragmented and dispersed sources of information, especially if you look at like capital improvement plans, master plans, airport improvement plans, and all the likes, governors' 10-year plan documents. It's all the information is sitting in the 500th page appendix in unstructured tables. So a lot of the information, how we complete this virtuous circle, if you may, of information, is all the above, right? It's constant expansion. So yes, we are expanding these sources. It's a pretty heavy duty task to be 100% complete around the world. But the good news is, we've been led by clients. So, if clients are bringing Latin America to our attention, or, Australia, or different regions, we just spend a couple of days, a week. We tap into all the official, non-official, third-party sources, including PDFs and hard to extract information, and quickly, pull those data sources together. And then you have a steady stream of tracking how those it's not a static record, right? Because then you can do research on those projects more real time. On technical research, it's already relying on, I would say, trillions of different records from, of course, American Society of Civil Engineering to all of the Google Scholar publications, Journal of Material Science, Journal of Construction Engineering. So it does have access to that. But of course, if there are paid sources that are behind firewalls, we work with clients to incorporate on a private cloud those sources just for our clients, which you already have subscription, and then you get access to all the external data. But if those sources are public, if you may, and disclosed by governments, it's definitely part of our repertoire to quickly incorporate those.
Thank you, Saurabh. Do we have other questions from the audience? Demet?
Maybe I can ask a question with combining about the talent, people, human factor. As we all know, the digitalization is so low in construction industry, and one of the reasons is we are getting older, and we are not so capable of using new technologies. And young generation don't want to join us in the industry. I think you are facing the same problem. And how do you compare with this problem? How do you, are old people, managers are keen to use your tools? How do you persuade them to use?
A very good question, Demet. My dear colleague, I see Craig here as well, who can shed some light on this. Well, you see, and you're absolutely right, the bifurcation of the old guards in the industry. And there's a dearth of young people actually coming. People think tech is much more hot, and other industries, maybe e-commerce and other construction, less so. So there is, I think the industry has a branding problem, if maybe that is another way to put it. But it shouldn't, right? Because it's such a vital industry for the prosperity of cities and nation building. So I think that's just a marketing and branding challenge. But if you were to just dissect the C-suite, right, perspective, logically, a lot of these decisions are human judgment based, human networks based, and it is necessary in this uncertain day and age, those decision-making workflows changed, because we risk being left behind with other industries. The productivity has been well known to be stagnating in this industry. Robotics might change on-site construction, but that is not likely to come to the forefront in the next decade or two. Craig, are you speaking? I'm sorry. You're on mute.
Sorry. Go on, and I'll add when you finish then.
Sure. The one or two quick points to just mention to that, Demet, is if you see a visibility to more project opportunities, right? If you see more, right? I mean, the top construction company in the world tells us we only get to see 30 to 40% of projects we would like to do. So there is not about regional players or largest players on the planet, but it's good for everybody to see more. But as you see more, you need data and AI to help you offer selectivity. So it really comes down to being highly selective then, right, about who you work with, which projects you select, and so forth. And the other point I would mention is what has happened. We just released the chatbot, been working with dozens of different companies around the world. There was a lot of data. I'll admit that, Bloomberg for this industry is complicated, but with the chatbot, it becomes so easy for C-suite to the young people in the industry to quickly start interacting with these, systems as in which way they want. So we see the barrier has drastically reduced, because it took, I don't know, don't quote me exactly on this, but Netflix 2.5 years, or steam engine and the internet 2 decades or more to get the level of adoption that AI tools have been getting in a matter of weeks. So already, even if management does not know about it, teams across the construction industry are using it. But what they're also realizing is the general purpose AI chatbots don't work for the industry specific business workflows. So we do think, given the concerns that you've highlighted, we have seen that, but we do think the tide is turning. And Craig, maybe let you comment on that, please.
No, Saurabh, thank you very much. Demet, it's a very good question. I'm one of those older people, shall I say, you're talking about. But as soon as as Saurabh said, as soon as the C-suite actually sees the responses you're getting back and the level of detail that platforms like this give, it's in a tool that the C-suite say, hold on a second, we need access to this. C-suite typically know the right questions to ask, because that's why they're in the C-suite. I'm seeing here in the US that younger generation get involved in the analytical part and the interface with Taiyō. They're asking the questions, they're feeding the reports through, and then the C-suite are seeing the caliber of those reports and the detail of those reports, and then are very intrigued and want to know more about the platform, and then they get involved. So it is a learning process, as Saurabh said, but I think it's relatively quick in the sense that the value that you get from these platforms, and I'll just give you an example in a minute of what happened here in the States, a relevant example. The time to get it to the C-suite, to the actual end users, is speeding up quicker and quicker because of the value of the data that's bringing, because it helps them differentiate in a competitive market. The example I'll bring is we had in Baltimore, Maryland, a ship impacted with a bridge and the bridge collapsed. It was probably international news. You probably all saw about. The day that happened, contractors in the US market were saying, oh, hold on a second, there's an opportunity here to rebuild the bridge. So they were using Taiyō. We were using it live and just typing it straight in. The bridge literally collapsed in 3 hours ago, and we were typing in to gather information about the bridge, who built it, which contractors work for that client, what are the main risks with that bridge, what are the main risks in procuring a new bridge. And Taiyō was giving us all this stuff live even before, and we were getting the reports from the police and the first responders of actually on the site as well, were being incorporated into the data that was being brought in. Extremely powerful when you're a CEO of a construction company that's based in Maryland and you're a bridge builder and you want to position yourself very quickly. You'll very quickly work out who are the likely competitors, what are their advantages, who should I team with, what are the materials that are going to be in short supply, what are the escalation costs of those things as well. In today's construction market, the three fundamentals are cost, time, and quality. And you've got this ability through this platform to ask those questions about any project that you've got, whether it's a current project or a future project. You can actually look at cost escalation or schedule confidence on the timetable. And you can see that and how it plays to your project. And therefore, you can use it to your advantage, your competitive advantage. So there's an example of something that happened. And a normal chatbot would have just given us the news of the bridge falling down. It couldn't have given us the detail on the material quantities or what the escalation of those materials might be in the future. I hope that's a helpful example. Thank you, Saurabh.
And I want to just augment what Craig said with just two very quick examples, Dammit, just from the last week. The largest consulting companies was advising their clients in the UK. And similar to what Craig said, their analysts and team actually came up to them and they highlighted a Russian supplier that was actually debarred, and they brought it up to their client. So avoiding big mistakes, right, is a big mandate for C-suite. So sometimes their team is bringing to them. But a quick second example is we're noticing a lot of C-suite using it right before they walk into a client meeting, right? They're sitting outside and they just open there and they ask hey, tell me what are the latest projects this DOT in Maryland or somewhere has been involved with. Tell me good news, bad news, what are the contractors they have worked with that hasn't worked out. What is the top of their mind challenges? So as soon as you walk in, you're slightly bit more intelligent, maybe more than even your client, to prepare your pitch, basically. So, yeah.
Actually, I was preparing another question just upon that. We are near to end of time, but in standpoint of the client, if I was the client, I would search my project on it, and I will see what risks does my project has, and every risk means that the attendees of the bidding will put a risk coefficient. So I would evaluate my project with your AI and then decrease or de-risk the points to get better prices, better biddings. So I don't know if you have any clients in the client investor side or the government. They should use it first to elaborate their project before the bidding.
That's a good point. Yes. And infra asset managers, governments, there are many use cases, damn it, on that line, right? Because one, let's say, I think state of Florida versus the state of Georgia, right? Georgia has an unprecedented pipeline of 15 billion in roads to be coming out. Now, if there is going to be unprecedented amount of investment in my nearby province or nearby country, right? That means there's going to be additional supply chain shortage of materials. Labor is going to be sucked in, right? Furthermore, so a lot of these decisions on timing, right, of when you start projects, right, at a more meta planner level. In fact, a lot of our colleagues are presenting to the Congress next week on the Joint Economic Committee on the Trump administration planning a potential future infrastructure bill. And they're using Taiyō to help inform actually what the future of infra planning should be. So yes, absolutely. I think governments need more help than anyone else. Yes.
I think so. Thank you for the presentation. It was very good, very enlightening for everyone, I think. And then we need, of course, we need more time, but we have limited time, so we have to say goodbye, and then we'll close, I think.
Thank you. Well, so as Saurabh said, if you want to use or try this platform, you don't hesitate to scan the QR code. We will share it once again after this meeting. And if you have any feedbacks, please feel free to send Demet or me the feedback you have, and we will transfer them to Saurabh and the team. So, well, thank you, Demet, and thank you, Saurabh, for today's discussion. It was really interesting, and I hope we can continue the collaboration in the future. And thank you for everyone who joined today this meeting. So as I said, the meeting was recorded, so don't hesitate to share it around you, and it will be available on our YouTube channel. Well, I will say good afternoon to everyone, and see you soon in a new webinar, I hope. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.